All right guys, welcome back to the garage. Now let's continue the cooling upgrades on the Charger. All right, to catch up to speed, we did a new water pump, 180 thermostat, new hoses, a dual row full aluminum radiator, and then the last video we replaced the condenser. And then today, trans cooler. Now I did a ton of research trying to figure out what coolers to run, and I stumbled across this thread on LX forums called the Franken Cooler upgrades. And basically, what I'm replicating is what they did in that thread. If you're doing any kind of research on these cars, especially the early 06 to 10s or 05 to 10s, search the forums, LX forums. There's tons of info on there, and I know it's easy to go on Facebook, type your question and hope somebody responds, but it's also, you never know what you might stumble across searching on the forums. So who knows how long that forum is going to be there. So much valuable info. So I strongly encourage, maybe go check out the forums and see if you can find your answers there before going and posting on Facebook. Now, like I said, I'm replicating the Franken Cooler setup. This is the style trans cooler that was used. This is the style power steering pump that was used. Now they also did an oil cooler, but I'm still doing some research on that because I want to run a thermostat for the oil cooler, so that way the oil does get up to temp before it starts cycling through the cooler. The transmission stock has a thermostat and the two lines coming from the transmission to the condenser, so we're good there. This is just going to be, if for some reason we're driving the car hard, it's hot, it needs some extra cooling, this will keep the trans temps in check. We'll go over the power steering pump cooler in the next video. Now obviously there's going to be a few ways to do this. I'm going the rubber hose route. You could do AN lines if you wanted. So I got these fittings that screw in the top, and I can do a rubber hose from these. And then on the actual condenser, I'm not sure which way I want to do it. I could do this route, quick connect. We'll see once we get there. Got some hose clamps. I got the fuel injection style hose clamps. I just trust these better because they put even pressure on the hose all the way around. So first thing I think we need to do is decide where to put this. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking somewhere just like this. So I'm gonna make some brackets to go from the bumper support just to sit it right here because the factory grill pretty much butts up right against here. So we can't do that. It'd be too close. So we need to just push it back a little bit. So I think just a couple brackets there and it should be good. Now, I'm putting on this side because, like I said, eventually I want to do an oil cooler, and I'm just going to do the same thing on this side. So we'll have two of the coolers on either side of the grill here. But yeah, let me make some brackets up, and we'll get this thing mounted. Okay, here's what I got. I just got a couple pieces of angle iron I cut, and then my thought is it could bolt to the angle like that, and then the bracket can bolt to the bumper support. But my only concern is I'm not sure. The bumper support is kind of angled, so it's tilting down. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but I mean, it doesn't look bad tilted like that. Yeah. You know, I think I might rock it like that, tilted. Let me think on it. All right, here's what I got so far. I put a little angle in there and then made it flush on the bottom so that this side will sit on the bumper support. So that'll actually sit like that. Since the bumper support is slanted down, that'll make it nice and level. So then we have our cooler like that. Just drill some holes and we can nut and bolt it to the bracket, and then I'll do some riv nuts in the bumper support and just two bolts into the bumper support, and that should be good. So I think I'm going to throw a tack weld right there just to strengthen these ends, and then I'm going to drill some holes and paint them up, and it'll be good to go. All right, brackets are done. They turned out pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and bolt these onto the cooler. That way we can set it up on the bumper support and mark our holes for the riv nuts. Going to throw a little Loctite on there just to help with vibrations so it doesn't come loose. All right, there we go. Let's go set it over there. And don't forget, guys, if you want to add paddle shifters to your LX Dodge, I have all the wiring kits you need to make them function. 05 to 10 LX Dodges, no matter the model, as long as you have the NAG1 5-speed. I got a direct wire kit for 05 to 07s, a direct wire kit for 08 to 10s. And if you don't want to do any wiring, easiest setup is the button setup with the Z Automotive transformer. And then even Pursuit, guys, with the column shifter, I got a harness kit for you guys too. If you want more information, check out my website, anthonysgarage1.com. It has examples of what paddles to look for, information on the kits. And if you want to order or have questions, hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Let's get back to the video. All right, about like, just like that. It's not touching anything. Past center. Then we can mark our holes. All right, time to drill again. Got my holes drilled and my rib nuts in there. Now let's see if this thing will fit. Looks pretty good. Again, I'm going to use some Loctite on my bolts. All right, that turned out pretty good. Sitting nice and straight. It's not tilted or anything. Definitely not going anywhere. Yeah. All right, let's plumb it. Okay, first thing, we'll throw these fittings on here. And yes, I know I should be using an AN wrench. Actually, let's angle that. Okay. All right, now let's discuss the plumbing and how we're going to do this. Now, your initial thoughts might be to just splice from these lines to the aftermarket cooler. But we're not going to do that. What we're actually going to do is we're going to tap into the feed line, which is the top line. This is the line where the hot transmission fluid comes from. We're going to run that into our cooler. Then the output will go into the stock cooler, and then it'll cycle through there and then go through the factory return. Now, why should we do that? Well, if you read through that thread I talked about, the Franken cooler, it was ran both ways. They tried it with just the auxiliary cooler and no stock cooler. And it turns out it actually works better if you run it through the auxiliary, then through the stock one, then back to the transmission. Another benefit of doing it this way is you will see lower radiator temps due to cooler transmission fluid flow through the stock cooler. So cooling down the transmission fluid first before going through the stock cooler will actually lower your coolant temps. They saw 10 degrees difference doing it this way. Now, if you did run a standalone cooler, did not use this, they actually saw a 20-degree difference. But after a bunch of testing, those guys went through and did everything. They said final decision was run it through the auxiliary cooler, back into the stock cooler, and then back to the transmission. So that's the way we're going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to attach a piece of hose to this line here, and we'll run it to one of these, and then the output will go into the transmission cooler, the stock one in the condenser, and then we'll just put the stock return line in its place, just like factory. All right, so the lower one, the return, we can just snap in, just like factory. Just make sure it engages all the way and that clip is seated, and you can put your boot on. Okay, now as far as this goes, I have a couple options and I'm trying to decide which route to go. I have this elbow that could go in there, or a straight. And I could just loop the line, because I feel like this might be kind of tight. So let me think about it. One thing I gotta note is this lip on here is too big to fit in there, so I'm gonna have to find a way to shave this down so that it fits in there and engages the clip. All right, I got that shaved down so that it fits. See how it goes inside now? But now it's too long, so I need to shorten it. But let me show you how I shaved down that lip so that we can get that clip on there. Basically, I just wrapped up the barb end to protect it, chucked it in the drill, and then ran the drill with some sandpaper and just slowly worked it until I got it the right size. And now it's perfectly machined for that clip to catch on there. We just need to shorten the base. All right, I got it shaved down. You can see how it matches the stock fitting. Now, I took the clip out of here because this doesn't have a beveled edge like that, so it's not gonna open the clip when you slide this in. So, clip is out. Put a little ATF on here, just because we don't wanna roll that O-ring that's in there. Okay, it's in. We slide our clip on. There we go. It's not coming out. I think we're good. Now, before we go running the rubber lines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up with some training fluid. That way it'll reduce the amount of air that's in the system. Like I said, the factory lines, there is a thermostat. I believe it's like 160 or 165 trans temp is when it opens. So when that does happen, I want at least amount of air in the lines in the coolers as possible. So we'll fill this up with fluid, put that fitting back on, and run the lines. All right, all wrapped up. Brackets look good. Everything looks good. It's nice and sturdy. Lines look good. Now, is that overkill for this car? Maybe, but I like the peace of mind of not having to worry about it. With that cooler on there, I should never have to worry about trans temps. I'm curious to see how they do. With the transformer, I can monitor trans temps through the gauge cluster, so just something to keep an eye on. But before we can wrap up the front end, we have the power steering cooler to do. So next video, we'll get that installed. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.